Welcome to the 8th edition of Before the Battle. I am Nick Baldwin, your host as always, and joining me on the show as always, the man behind MMAsucker.com, the popular Canadian website. Please welcome Jeremy Brand back to Before the Battle. Jeremy, how's it going, man?
Going well, man. Glad to be here. Glad we could get this underway. Took a little while, but good to be here.
And also joining me, as always, the man behind BestFightPicks.com and the Twitter accounts Best Fight Picks and MMA Thought. Please welcome Daniel Levi back to the show. Daniel, how's it going?
It's going awesome, man. I'm getting used to this whole UFC on a Sunday night kind of thing. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, but I don't think I am used to Sunday night UFC. It kind of sucks, but at least it's not a big deal for me just because I'm here letting you guys know. But it sucks during the year, like the school year and whatnot, when events are on Sundays, in my opinion, because it really makes no sense. Yeah, I'm a kid if you didn't know, but or the work year, whatever you want to call that. But also joining me always, as always, the lead writer for today's Knockout and Vendetta Fighter. Please welcome Go Paolo back to the show. Paulo, how's it going?
How's it going, guys? Happy to be here. Happy as always.
For sure, for sure. All right. So we did an extra edition last week, and Daniel was the only one out of you three that joined me. Obviously, we were also joined by the MMA Genius on that episode. On that episode last week, we recapped UFC Nashville, which was an event 2 weeks back. So we're not going to recap that again, of course, but we're going to talk about some news, because lately there's been a bunch of news announced by the UFC and whatnot, and most recently, earlier yesterday actually, it was announced that Ronda Rousey is taking on Holly Holm for the Women's Bantamweight Championship, and this is in a way controversial because many people don't like this fight. For one reason, it doesn't make sense to a lot of people's opinions, and also Dana White and the rest of the UFC brass promised the title shot to Miesha Tate after she dominated Jessica Ai late last month. Dana White was at the press conference, of course, and said, yeah, Miesha Tate is next in line. She's fighting. And Miesha Tate even went on after the announcement was made that she was already training for the fight against Ronda Rousey, the trilogy matchup, and she's really, really disappointed now. Daniel, what are your thoughts on Holly Holm getting the big step up in competition against Ronda Rousey? She's only 2-0 in the UFC, and in my opinion, she really hasn't looked too good.
You know, I can see both sides of the coin. You know, for starters, Miesha Tate is on that 4-fight win streak, so she did kind of earn that title shot. But at the same time, she's gotten her arm broken twice by Ronda Rousey. So I mean, do we really need to see that happen again? So I mean, Holly Holm's going to lose to Ronda Rousey as well. So it's just a fresh matchup for the fans.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But Jeremy, let's get your thoughts on the new matchup.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think she's going to definitely lose to Ronda Rousey. In my mind, I think that it's sort of just setting up Miesha Tate to fight Cyborg. I think that's the fight that needs to be made. I think it's going to prove whether Cyborg can make it down to 135, and if she does and she beats Miesha, it just adds that legitimacy to Cyborg and gives her that title route to get to Ronda Rousey.
And Paulo, any last words on the actual matchup? And do you see Holly Holm getting out of the first round or the first minute, if you want to say that, in her future matchup on January 2nd, UFC 195 main event against Ronda Rousey?
Yeah, I actually see Holly Holm going a lot longer than a lot of Ronda's competitors, although that's not saying much.
So 20 seconds.
Because, you know, maybe 4 minutes, maybe she might even make it past the first, because what I like about Holm is she's a very technical fighter. She's actually, in my opinion, the most cerebral fighter in the division. And she's not going to bum rush Rousey. She's not going to pull off any of those crazy tactics like what Zingano did. So I can see her like biding her time and keeping Rousey at a distance. The question is if she can do it, but I think she can. She trains under Greg Jackson and them, and they're some of the best coach fighters. So, yeah.
Now, do you feel Holly Holm should have been the one to fight the Rowdy one next, or were you in favor of the trilogy bout, despite Miesha Tate losing both times with that trilogy bout with Miesha Tate? Were you in favor of that matchup, that third matchup between the two, or were you hoping for new blood such as Holly Holm or Amanda Nunes?
I actually wanted Nunes. I thought that would be a good matchup, but I really don't mind either way. With Misha Tate, we know Rousey's gonna win. With Holly Holm, Rousey's likely gonna win. At the end of the day, it's 2-3 fighters.
I think Paulo is gone, man. What happened? What would you like
Paulo?
to see? Amanda Nunes?
Oh, what? You guys did not
No,
see
it's not
that?
lagging at all.
Oh,
No, you're
wait.
fine.
Okay, I was saying it really doesn't matter to
I'll just assume he's saying that he thinks Ronda Rousey's going to beat her in the first minute, and he doesn't give a crap about the matchup. I don't know if he wants to add anything, but I'll assume not. Hopefully, I'm not being a dick there. But let's move on. Khabib Nurmagomedov is set to return against Tony Ferguson, and this is a matchup I really like. And Khabib has proved over his UFC tenure that he is, if not the best lightweight, one of the best lightweights in the entire division. He owns a dominant win over now champ Rafael dos Anjos. Lots of people think he beats Rafael dos Anjos, despite dos Anjos being super better since that first meeting. Some people pick Khabib over Pettis, over Donald Cerrone, really top guys. And he's facing a guy that, to many people's eyes, including mine, is the future of this division. This guy has looked very good. Tony Ferguson, coming off a big win over Josh Thompson, the biggest of his career. Daniel, let's start off with you. How excited are you for this lightweight matchup? Because it will be a great one.
Very excited, Nick. I mean, when you talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov, this guy's arguably got the best top control in the game. And then when you look at Tony Ferguson, I mean, obviously he's always had good boxing, he's always had good wrestling, but now it's his jiu-jitsu that he's really been working on. You know, he's been training at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and it's going to be a very intriguing match. One thing I want to point out is that Khabib specifically requested for this fight to be 3 rounds instead of 5, so I want to know what you guys think about that.
Well, Khabib requesting to fight a 3-round fight and not a 5-round fight, that shows that he is not 100% to me. Obviously, as a warm-up fight, he hasn't fought since early 2014. I believe his last fight was that dos Anjos fight, which he won fairly easily. But since then, he's torn a few ligaments in his knee, I believe multiple times actually. And this guy, I really don't know if he's going to be the same. I just have a feeling if he was 100%, he wouldn't need that warm-up 3-rounder. He would be able to take the 5-round fight, and that's what might make me even pick Tony Ferguson, because I think 100% Khabib versus 100% Ferguson is already a close matchup. I'd probably side with the Russian there, but if Khabib is anything less than 100%, Tony Ferguson will take advantage and possibly win this fight. Now, Jeremy, your thoughts on the matchup?
I think it's a great matchup. I'm excited for it. I'm surprised it's on the Tough 22 finale, to be honest with you. I thought that they might have used this fight for maybe a Fox card or something like that. I disagree with you with the fact that Tony Ferguson is the future of the division. I think Khabib is probably more so the future of the division than Ferguson, and I think 3-round over 5 makes sense for him to return to the cage since he's been on such a layoff. I can't see him losing this fight.
And Paul, I'm not sure if you're there, but if you are, what are your thoughts on Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov?
Okay, you guys hear me now? Yeah?
We can hear you.
Okay, I guess I'm back. I really like that fight.
For now.
I really don't know who's gonna win though. Money's probably on Khabib right now, but I'm just questioning how his knees are. You know, knee surgeries are always like risky. You never know if the fighter's gonna be the same fighter or if they're gonna lose a bounce in their step. But it's a really great fight. Ferguson's been on a roll, and Khabib's a beast. Like, how can you not like this fight?
Yep, I completely agree, and so that's all we're going to talk about for news, because I really don't want to spend a ton of time talking about news. This is before the battle. This show is meant to break down an upcoming UFC card, and that is UFC Fight Night 74, live from the SaskTel Center on Sunday night in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And so we're going to break down the 6-fight main card. Kicking things off, Marina Marose taking on Valerie Leterneau in a women's strawweight bout. Daniel, let's start with you. Who do you like here and how?
You know, Nick, I like Marina Marose, and I'm going to tell you why right now. I think this is going to be like a showcase fight. You know, the girl's undefeated. All her wins are via submission, but she actually has a boxing background. And then with Valerie Leterneau, she lost via finish to Roxanne Modafferi, and you don't just simply pick someone that got finished by Roxanne Modafferi. So with all that being said, I got Marina Marose for the victory, Nick.
And Jeremy, what about you? Valerie Leterneau, the Canadian, or Marina Marose?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Marina Marose as well. She's undefeated inside the cage, 6-0. She's looked really good with a big win over Joanne Calderwood. I think it's the only thing that comes into play is Leterneau's size. She might be able to grind away at Marose, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I see her pulling off a unanimous decision victory here.
And Paolo, what about you? Marose, the European, or Valerie Leterneau?
I'm going to just dissent here just for the sake of dissenting. I think Leterneau's going to win because we're going to see some bias judging. I mean, Leterneau's going to be a tougher fight than JoJo because she can wrestle a little bit, she can grapple a little bit, and I'm really still not sold on Marose's grappling ability. We know she can do arm bars, but beyond that, we really don't know. So I think she's going to dirty up the fight, and she's going to get a really biased 29-28 decision.
All right, moving on, we have who some people consider, not I included, the next GSP, Olivier Aubin Mercier taking on Tony Sims in a lightweight bout between two prospects. Jeremy, let's start with you. Who do you like here, the Quebec kid or the Tony Sims?
Oh, I like OAM all the way in this fight. I think he's going to have his way with Tony Sims. He's going to take him down. He's going to maybe wrestle hump him for a little bit and submit him very quickly and easily probably.
And Daniel, I know you have a bit of a different opinion on this fight. Who do you like here, Aubin Mercier or Sims?
Well, if OAM goes out there and does what Jeremy just said, I'll be very impressed. But here's the thing. You know, Tony Sims, he's a 2-time Iowa State champion wrestler, plus he's got a pro boxing background. Most of his wins are via KO. So it's going to be very tough for Aubin Mercier to get him down. And not to mention the fact that, you know, Jake Lindsay took down Aubin Mercier, and David Machad actually dropped Mercier. Now, with that being said, Mercier is getting better every single fight, but so is Tony Sims. So if Mercier can come in there and take him out, that's going to really send a message. But when you look at what I consider to be a pick'em fight, and they're counting, you know, Tony Sims as such a big underdog, I gotta have to kind of lean with the underdog here.
All right, and Paulo, who do you like here, OAM or Sims? If you're there.
I side with Daniel. I like OAM, but he's got the wrestling background to stay standing. I think he's gonna dust OAM, or if it doesn't dust him, he's gonna win the fight.
All right, moving on, we have... Oh, I should mention that I do like OAM as well. It is a close fight. Some of you guys talking how Tony Sims could knock this guy out or even win a decision has kind of persuaded me to think this is a very close matchup. Earlier on last week, I was thinking OAM was the biggest lock on this card, but Tony Sims, I had to be reminded that he did knock out Steve Montgomery in the first round in his debut. He looked really good in that one. Aubin Mercier is definitely on a different level than Montgomery is, but it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But if I have to pick, I got Aubin Mercier by submission. Moving on, we have the Tough Nations welterweight winner Chad Lepri taking on Francisco Trinaldo. Daniel, who do you like here, Lepri or Trinaldo?
You know, I think it's going to be a little bit of a showcase fight for Lepri. I expect him to go out there and win a decision, but you can never count out Masuranduba Trinaldo because this guy, he's known for winning very, very close decisions. But with that being said, those decisions are in Brazil, and this is in Canada where Lepri is from. So I got Chad Lepri by unanimous decision.
And Jeremy, do you like the Canadian or the Brazilian?
Yeah, I like Chad Lepri in this one. I think... You know, Trinaldo is a guy that comes out there and he wins fights that he shouldn't. Like Daniel said, in Brazil, those have happened. I think Lepri goes out there, he grinds this one away. He's going to take home a unanimous decision like he has 11 other times winning fights. He's going to win this one as well. He's going to go 12-0.
And Paulo, are you siding with the Canadian here, or are you picking Francisco Trinaldo to upset him?
I really like Lepri here. I mean, I tweeted that Lepri is one of the more under. This guy is really good, man. He's really athletic. He's fast. He's got really good striking. And he's got really good movement. And when you take him down, he's gonna jump back up. So I think if he was able to get back up from OAM, taking him down, he's gonna do the same to Trinaldo, and he's gonna win this comfortably, 30-27.
All right, moving on. Oh, again, I forgot to give my breakdown. I should mention Francisco Trinaldo. This is a guy that he's not a great fighter, but he wins fights, and often. I believe he's on a 3 or 4 fight winning streak. All of them, or like 2 or 3, have been controversial, very close decisions. The latest one was against Norman Park. I feel he actually won that fight. Most people score that in favor of Park. I pick him in a lot of fights. I get lucky, but I'm not picking him here. I like Chad Lepri's, but I don't think this is going to be a showcase fight like some people think. I think Lepri's will be able to just do enough to edge out that win, probably 29-28, or because of Canadian bias, it could be 30-27, but I don't see Trinaldo getting finished here, but I like Lepri's to win a comfortable unanimous decision. Moving on, we have Patrick the Predator Cote taking on Josh the People's Warrior Burkman. Now, this seems like a fight that should have happened 10 years ago, I think, but Daniel, who do you like here, Cote or Burkman?
I got to go with the Canadian here. You know, I think that Burkman's actually a better striker, and he might even be a better grappler too, but he's not better at putting everything together. And lately, you know, Patrick Cote, he's been getting way better with his wrestling. You know, back in the day, he was known for his brawling style, but he understands, you know, he's a very cerebral guy. He understands that, you know, he's getting older, and he's actually evolved with the time. So I got to pick Patrick Cote here by decision.
And Apollo, who do you like here, Cote or Burkman?
I really like Cote here, and I actually bet Cote. Daniel already outlined stuff well. I mean, Burkman probably has the better striking. He's probably the more athletic guy. He probably is the better wrestler and grappler, but he just doesn't put it all together. And that guy has poor fight IQ. So I'm gonna go with Cote here.
Jeremy, who do you like here, Cote or Burkman?
Yep, I'm going to have to side with everyone else. I'm going to go with Cote. I know I said this to you, Nick, on Sucker Radio this week. This is basically a fight that doesn't matter in the division. It's for absolutely nothing. It means nothing to either guy's career other than adding another victory to their record sheet. I'm going to side with Cote because I think he's going to get it done. Plus, he's the Canadian, so I got to sort of side with him on that one.
Now, Patrick Cote is a guy that you mentioned, and I agree, this fight really doesn't matter, but he's looking better by the fight, and he should be looking worse considering he's aging, he's getting up there in age. He really should be on the decline, and it seems he's getting better almost. His skills are keep on improving. Now, is Patrick Cote a guy that you don't think you'll ever see inside the top 15, or do you think he'll just edge out one more win after this maybe to crack into that top 15, Jeremy?
Tough to say. I don't think a victory over Josh Burkman is going to put him into the top 15, but maybe a fight after that, if he wins that, he could get there. I don't know. Maybe they're just going to give him marquee matches from now on because of his age and his, you know, he's with the Canadian, he's with the Canadian UFC affiliation and whatnot. So they're going to try and keep him safe throughout the progression of the rest of his career, I think.
I like Patrick Cote here as well. Hopefully there's no Canadian bias, but I just think Burkman, in a way, he's UFC caliber. His skills are okay, but like Paulo said, I believe he just can't put it all together. I actually thought he looked half decent in that Dong-Hun Kim fight in his last outing. He survived against Hector Lombard, and in my opinion, just not getting knocked out in that fight is somewhat impressive. But I got to side with Patrick Cote. I think he wins a decision. Probably a 29-28, but really any scorecard wouldn't shock me. Moving on, the co-main event of the evening, Magny taking on Eric Silva in what could be a very fun fight. Daniel, who do you like here?
This is a really, really good fight. You know, Neil Magny was on that 7-fight win streak, but even in the midst of that win streak, certain holes in his game were exposed on the ground and in his striking defense. And then when he fought Damian Maia, you know, you'd think a smart guy like Neil Magny would know exactly what Maia wants to do, and he couldn't stop it. And it's only been 2 weeks since then, so he hasn't had enough time to patch up the holes in his jiu-jitsu game. And what's Eric Silva been doing lately, and what does he do for the most part in his career? He submits guys. So I think Eric Silva is going to come out here and submit Neil Magny.
Jeremy, what about you, Magny or Silva?
Finally, I get to pick against you, Daniel. I'm going to have to go with Magny on this one. We saw against Damian Maia, I've said this numerous times, you know, Maia has obviously some of the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC, if not the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC, and Magny was able to defend that for quite a while there. Silva does not have that same jiu-jitsu like Damian Maia does. Magny is good off his back. He's able to defend these submissions, and we've seen what he can do in there when he gets into sticky situations. He's able to get it done. I don't see him finishing Eric Silva, but I do see him earning a unanimous decision or even a split decision in this fight, and I think he's going to get back on the winning ways.
And Apollo, do you see Neil Magny, like Jeremy just mentioned, get back into the win column, or will he suffer a 2-fight losing skid after this matchup?
Hashtag Eric Silva Lovefest. I'm going to go with Eric Silva over here, man. Like, the thing about Neil Magny is that guy's a slow starter. He's lost a lot of round ones. And against Hyun Yu Lim really brought the heat against him. And I think Eric Silva's just a different animal, man. He's going to bring it on Magny. He's going to hurt him. And maybe he's going to choke him. He's going to guillotine him. Neil Magny can get guillotined, man. So don't be surprised if Eric Silva climbs Neil Magny and guillotines him and chokes him out.
I actually like Neil Magny here. I'm going to side with Jeremy in this one. It's all about whether or not he will be able to weather the storm of Eric Silva, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Eric Silva knocks him out in the first round, just because he does have the finishing power. But after 5 minutes, he is very tired, and Neil Magny has a way better gas tank than Eric Silva does. And if he is able to weather the storm, Neil Magny will be able to either submit him in the later rounds, either late second or the third round, or just win the second and third round and win a 29-28 decision. So that's how I see that one playing out. Moving on, the main event of the evening, Max Holloway taking on Charles Oliveira in a pivotal featherweight matchup. Jeremy, let's start with you. Who do you like here?
Pivotal. I like that, Nick. Easily the best fight on the card. Easily going to win fight of the night. Could take performance of the night for one of these guys as well. I think it's a much closer fight than the odds are saying. Max Holloway being the favorite, I believe, in this by quite a bit. Charles Oliveira has a shot in this one, but Max Holloway should get it done. He's looked very clean and precise in his last couple fights. He hasn't been as wild and hectic as he was earlier on in his career, so he should be able to pick Charles Oliveira apart. And you know, when Oliveira comes in there rushing and trying to flash forward and whatnot, Holloway will be able to dictate those shots and sort of counter the way he has been doing in his last few fights. He wasn't supposed to beat Cub Swanson. This one he is supposed to win, and I think he will.
And Apollo, who do you like here, Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira?
You know, I've been going back and forth in this fight, and I really can't decide, but I'm leaning slightly on Max Holloway. A couple of the guys over on Twitter gave good points that Charles Oliveira, he doesn't have the traditional wrestling takedowns. He doesn't have those double leg takedowns and whatnot, but he has some pretty sneaky trips, and if he gets up close in Holloway and gets him up against the fence, he might be able to take him down, and that's tough, man. If he gets Holloway down, I think it's lights out, but I trust Holloway's going to keep the fight standing and either win on the scorecards or finish him.
And Daniel, finally, who do you like here, Max Holloway or Charles Oliveira?
This is such a good fight, and you know, both these guys are such phenoms in their own aspects of the game. You know, Bronx with the submissions, Max Holloway with the stand-up, but I think that Max Holloway is a little bit more of a smarter guy, and you know, Bronx, even though he's a phenom with his jiu-jitsu, there's been times when he's quit in fights before. You know, the Cub Swanson fight, and I think that Max Holloway has more potential, so I think he's going to defeat Charles Bronx Oliveira in the later rounds.
All right, and I also have to side with Max Holloway here. I don't think he'll be able to finish Charles Oliveira, But we have seen Oliveira knocked out before, so it wouldn't shock me if Holloway is able to finish him in the 3rd or 4th or 5th round, the later rounds. My official prediction would be Max Holloway by decision. I think he'll be able to keep it standing. Obviously, Oliveira, if he gets it down, it could be game over. He could submit Max Holloway. But Max Holloway, I think, will be able to keep it standing. I'm hoping he will be able to, kind of banking on that. And if he will be able to, he'll direct things on the feet and pick up that decision. All right, before I let you guys...
isn't Do Bronx the worst nickname in MMA, though?
It is.
Ah, dude, the People's Warrior is way worse.
They're both bad. They're both bad. All right.
What the hell is Do Bronx?
I don't know. It's just some random letters put together, and he called it a nickname, but I'm not too sure. All right, let's get to the counter-move teams before I let you guys go. Jeremy, why don't you start out with yours? Tell us your 5 fighters you're picking on your counter-move team.
So good.
All right, here we go. I've got Nikita Krylov, Chris Beal, Chad Lepri, OAM, and Misha Cirkunov.
Right, and Daniel, what about you?
For my counter move team, I got Eric Silva, Felipe.
Whoa, you're shaved. You're bald.
Max Holloway, Nikita Krylov, and Frankie Perez.
And Paulo, what about you?
Okay, I got hashtag Eric Silva Lovefest, Max Holloway, Marina Morose, despite picking against her. Yeah, I'm putting her on. I got Tony Sims, and I got Misha Cirkunov.
All right, and my 5-person counter-move team is Felipe Aranches, Nikita Krylov, Olivier Aubin-Mercier, Frankie Perez, and Misha Cirkunov. And Cirkunov seems like a fairly big favorite on counter-move. Let's talk about that fight before I let you guys go. He's fighting Daniel Jolly on short notice. Daniel Jolly came in on short notice. He was supposed to fight Sean O'Connell. Now he's fighting Daniel Jolly, and this seems like a really winnable fight for a Cirkunov for the Canadian. Jeremy, break down this fight for us, and who do you like here?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cirkunov. I've seen him on the Canadian scene for quite a while. It's about time he's made it to the UFC. He's got a great grappling game and ground game, and a lot of people don't know that because he's been winning by knockout and TKO. Jolly comes into this fight where not a lot of people know who he is. I think Cirkunov is going to be able to get it done. I think this is a way easier matchup than Sean O'Connell. A lot of people were picking against Cirkunov when O'Connell was in there. I think they flopped the coin since this matchup has been changed, and I can't see a way that Cirkunov loses this, so crossing my fingers that I'm right.
Yeah, Misha Cirkunov, I was picking against him. I favored Sean O'Connell in that fight. And now, in my opinion, Misha Cirkunov is the biggest lock on this card. Daniel, who do you like in this matchup, Cirkunov or Jolly?
Well, I mean, you got to pick Cirkunov, but if he was fighting Sean O'Connell, I would have picked O'Connell. You know, my good friend, Tex Johnson, he submitted Misha Cirkunov in like under 2 minutes. So, you know, how good is his grappling really? And also, my buddy Cody Saftik let me know that, you know, Misha split ways with his longtime Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, and that he's basically his own head coach. That's always a red flag. But luckily, he's not going up against a top 15 guy or a top 10 guy, so it's not going to matter. He's going to go out there and probably finish Jolly.
And Paulo, Cirkunov or Jolly?
Cirkunov, I mean, everyone's broken it down already. I don't need to say much. He's better everywhere than Jolly from what limited information I can find. And yeah, I mean, he's got some personal problems and all of that stuff, but even then, I still don't think that's going to be enough to hinder him. I think he's still going to beat Jolly.
Yep, I agree. Misha Cirkunov, like I said, in my opinion, the biggest lock on this card. I like him really however he wants to win. He can go the distance and win a decision. He can knock the guy out in the first round, or he could even hit the guy in the first round. No matter where it goes, he will win. He will pick up his first UFC win. Now, I'd like to thank you guys so much for coming on this 8th edition of Before the Battle. Jeremy, let us know where we can find you on social media and if anything coming up.
Yeah, you can find me at JeremyBrand604. Check out MMA Sucka on Twitter at MMA Sucka. You know, follow us on Facebook, or like us on Facebook, not follow us. MMA Sucka, just look it up. You can find us everywhere.
And Daniel, where can we find your best fight picks and on social media?
You can find my best fight picks at bestfightpicks.com. You type your email in the top right corner, and you get them sent directly to your inbox every single fight week. As far as social media is concerned, at Best Fight Picks, and also go to SoundCloud, subscribe to Best Fight Picks, subscribe to Flying MMA, and then you'll get all my podcasts.
And Paulo, obviously you write for 2 websites. What are those 2 websites, and where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on social media at Go Paolo MMA. For my more personal account, it's about traveling. It's at gopaolo.com. You can find my articles at Today's Knockout or at Vendetta Fighter, and I'm actually working on a deal with another big media company from Canada. I can't divulge the information yet, but soon guys, soon.
All
and
right.
join the UFC group on Facebook, the biggest UFC group on Facebook, over 76,000 members and growing. So come join the discussion. Come find us on Facebook.
But no trolls. Is that right?
No trolls allowed, man. Trolls are dealt with quite fast. And if you spell Ronda's name with an H, you're banned right away. I don't care if it's autocorrect.
All right, and so you can check out my website, MMAJunior.co. We'll have lots of pre-fight coverage and post-fight coverage of UFC Saskatoon. Obviously, I'm here. I wasn't credentialed for the event, but I still will be, hopefully, will be doing some pre-fight interviews tomorrow at the fan experience things and whatnot. Hopefully, those will be up tomorrow night, MMAJunior.co. Follow me on Twitter at NickUFC. Check out my weekly podcast. I host it with John King. Some of the times we break down fight cards, recap previous fight cards, discuss news, and guests are featured on every show. This past week's show featured Robin Black, a top analyst for the Fight Network. We thoroughly went through UFC Saskatoon top to bottom. We didn't just do the main card like we did tonight. Check that out. Great episode. And on next week's show, we have ex-UFC fighter Justin Jones and Yahoo writer Cale Haverfold. So I'm glad to have those guys on the show. And until then, enjoy the fights.